Hello and welcome to the channel The Wounded Healer. My name is Andreas. Today I will be talking about the outer critic. I've been talking about the inner critic in a previous video. So the outer critic is the enemy of relationships. So that is why it's a good thing to try to get rid of it, of course. Yeah, it views everyone else as flawed and unworthy, and it tends to look at people as awful and dangerous. So it can show up like you get this everybody sucks rant, like oh my god, why do you how can you not even cut that vegetable, or how can you possibly drive that bad, or yeah, just everybody sucks rant. So this is a reaction from that stems from that you're not able, you can't trust your parents quite. There might be variations, but that's the most common one, I guess. So yeah, what it does is it alienates us from others. You can have a different ratio, so to say, between the inner and outer critic. It can varies. For me, I had a much stronger inner critic, but I had some outer critic as well, and it manifested itself in that mostly for me was work related, that I thought like how can you work so slow, or I can work much faster, and then I exhausted myself trying to always work faster. So I thought I was doing a good thing there, but I was just burning myself out when the other guys and girls probably were working just at the regular pace, I guess. So yeah, was probably not very clever. So what probably in freeze and flight the outer one is more stronger, and in the fawn type it's more likely that the inner one is more present or active. Yeah. So yeah, like I was talking about, it probably comes from that you're not allowed to be angry at your parents, and that way you have to repress your anger, and it turns out that you then get this kind of silent and subliminal anger. Yeah, so what happens is that it transfers unexpressed childhood anger to others out of proportions. And one example where the outer critic is in work is you can, for example, be chronically late, or you can have a poor follow through in projects or whatever. So this is a type of passive aggressiveness that the outer critic uses, and Yeah, because you weren't allowed to be angry at your parents, or you couldn't stand up for yourself quite, and then this is what happens when the outer critic takes a kind of a side way there to because you still got carries that anger and it needs to come out somehow. So yeah, and moving on, what you notice is only you only notice is imperfection in people. Sadly, you just see the imperfections, and you don't see the good stuff there. So, and yes, sadly, the outer critic is quite celebrated in media. So you see it in different reality shows and whatnot. So it's not that is I'm not stoked about that, I guess, but yeah, that's what happens. Mm. So I'm gonna read out a little bit about that outer critic modeling in the media. I'll read from Pete Walker, Complex PTSD from Surviving to Thriving. If you're watching this and you need advice on complex PTSD, I reckon this is a Bible. If you should definitely read this. If you follow this, you have I would say you have a good chance on getting healed from that complex PTSD. It helped me a lot, and yeah, he's amazing. He's really on top of this. So yeah. We must renounce unconscious outer critic strategies such as 1. I will use angry criticism to make you afraid of me so I can be safe from you. 2. Why should I bother with people when everyone is so selfish and corrupt or non-thinking? 3. I will be perfectionistically micromanage you to prevent you from betraying or abandoning me. Yeah. 4. I will rant and rave or leave at the first sign of a lonely feeling, because if you really loved me, I would never feel lonely. Yeah, so I thought that was worth reading there. Some of you guys might recognize the kind of thinking there. Yeah, moving on. The outer critic arises at powerful emotional flashbacks, for sure. It obsessively fantasizes consciously and unconsciously about how people could hurt us. And news is a trigger for sure. So yeah, unfortunately, as we know, the news always focus on the baddest stuff happening in society. There is a lot of good news there, but I think there is some news channel you can probably watch with good news there. So what I do, I actually don't watch news that much anymore. I used to watch all kinds of news, like a real news junkie, and different channels and from all over the world, but I pretty much stopped actually, because I feel like it's not uh, it's not good for our brain to always catastrophizing in that sense. The brain doesn't quite get that all that bad stuff isn't happening to you. Um, at least not when you're complex PTSD survivor. Yeah, that is my take on it. But probably I would recommend any person not to actually look too much on look at something wholesome instead. Like I was looking at a program about a guy who lived in Hawaii. He bought some land really cheap there because it was so dense and thick, and nobody knew what to do with it. So he just lived there in quite a shack or a little home that he did himself, super cozy. And yeah, he went out and swam with the dolphins. He learned how to. They kind of accepted him into the group, and he was swimming with the dolphins, and that was what he was doing. So yeah, that was truly wholesome. So that might be a better option, especially if you're suffering from the outer critic right now or from PTSD. Anyways, news is a trigger. So yeah, what happens was that you lacked supporting parents, and this is where I'm talking about the intimacy part. Like you never really learned intimacy, and so you didn't really get to learn that true, real intimacy comes from sharing the experience, all of man's, all of her experience. So yeah, the problem with this stuff is that if you don't address it, it can possibly lead to narcissism, or even worse, you can become a sociopath. So yeah, you can possibly develop narcissism, or even become a sociopath. I was really struggling with that word there, but yeah. So I was gonna say something about that. Yeah, it's really important that you work with yourself, and I have encountered people that well, and you see it everywhere. I don't want to mention, I don't want to get political here, but you can truly tell where some people, not only do they not try to resolve these issues, but they appreciate that side of narcissism where they put in more wood in the fire, so to say, and they really get high on that narcissism, and to the point where they even become a sociopath. So, and that is a truly bad thing for the one that develops narcissism, is really getting himself into trouble, but also, and not least, he's affecting everyone around. Everything just turns to piss and shit, is my take on that. So yeah. So there is a story about the the natives of how the indigenous my remembrance of it is that it takes place on Greenland, but and I don't know if it's true or not, or it doesn't matter. It's a good story. So that they were the men were going on the winter hunt where they are gone for like a couple 3 months or so, and there was this guy who was sick. He was too sick to go, and they had to leave him in camp there. And when they got home, they he had he had knocked up all of the women there, and and yeah, he had eaten all of their nice food, and so he was not he wasn't sick for sure. He was just faking that. So yeah, they were pretty upset with the guy, with every right. So and so what they did was that they put him on an ice floe and watched him drift away. And yeah, I think people should have many chances, but when they refuse to change and they refuse to be a team player, and you can they just want to develop their side of selfishness, and just bringing bad stuff to the people around them and to society. That's where I think that's where you need to get rid of bad people. It's harsh, but yeah, it's just a minor part of the population where you can't, that they won't better themselves. They just bring so much suffering and bring everyone down to the mud. So yeah. So that's a very very bad thing that I see in a lot of countries now, is that you celebrate those assholes, and yeah, and it's like a mail coming on in the mail box here, that they just turn everything to shit. So enough about that. Yeah, so work on yourself is a message here. You can also have a form of scapegoating here. The outer critic is scapegoating, and that is kind of a perverse form of mirroring, where your flaws, you mirror those on other people. And also, if you feel bad, then the next person or the other persons around you have to feel bad. Yeah, scapegoating, that is a bad one. So what can you do? What can you do about this? It's a question of the holistic part, of course, where you're healing, like I was talking about the inner child, and every other form of healing you do, that would also heal this part. But what I've been practicing some is that I noticed that I was struggling to find good things to say about people, like so I practiced like saying five good things about that person, or and You can do that in your mind, of course, but you can also do it at the dinner table and saying it out loud to family members, for sure. So, yeah. And if you feel like you have, now that I've gone through some of this, and you feel like you have a flashback, then you can sit down and take 5 minutes and think about why you find other people faulty, or just think about this whole thing with the outer critic, and just take 5 minutes and breathe, and yeah. So yeah, and what you want to do is protect yourself from thinking you are not worthy of love. This is key here. It's essential. And this is also the feeling that you are not worthy of love is why you alienate people. And it is, I have to say it, of course, that it is not true that there is so much love you have no idea how loved you are. So this is definitely not true. So yeah, so think about that. Also, mindfulness is successful in silencing the outer critic. Preferably grounding mindfulness. You need to ground yourself and come down on earth. There is also mindfulness that we go up, so to say, but that is not nothing that you start with for C-ptsd. You start with grounding ones, and you can find it everywhere in pods, or you can find it in YouTube or anywhere. If you might want to start, or if you haven't done it, it will get you started with some guided ones, and then when you know how, you can just sit and do it automatically. So, but yeah, so yeah, there is some good ones out there. And be mindful of, in the mindfulness, that it might actually get worse. The outer critic can get worse in the beginning, when you begin with the mindfulness, and or when you begin treating silencing he will raise his voice there. So it's nothing to worry about, I guess, but just be aware that if you're thinking like, this isn't working, what the F is happening here. But yeah, so just be patient and know knowingly about that issue there, or issue. But yeah. And another thing you can do is similar to what I was talking about, the inner critic there, that you can actually silence it by anger. You can get angry with it and say that enough already, I won't have any of this, you need to shut the hell up here, or something like that. Yeah, so same there. It can probably be worse in the beginning, where he attacks you in the beginning, but you need some endurance there, and it'll sort itself out. But yeah, angering will silence the outer critic, but crying will evaporate it. So crying for the outer critic, or crying for the condition, kind of that is, if it's possible to do that, that is a good idea. Yeah. Mm. So yeah, healthy outer critic venting. Yeah, so venting the outer critic is a healthy thing to do. Yeah. So. Mm. Yeah. So. Yeah, that was what I had about the subject of the outer critic. Um, and like I said, I suffer more from the inner critic, but this has also done a good mess. Yes, and it could make you lonely. So and of course, it's not a good way of life to see just the bad in others, for sure. You are so worthy of a nice life where you have friends and where you're not alienating people just because of the way you grew up, or the way or the generational trauma. So what we're doing here, when we fix ourselves, that we're also breaking the generational trauma that can so yeah, it's not our parents' fault. Like, the way I'm looking at it, it's not our parents' fault that they just uh, they are not aware of, they don't have the knowledge, or they are just repeating the same old parents, the parents of trauma. And I won't be getting into that too much. That makes for another video. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you got a little bit wiser, that I could share some wisdom for you here. And if you want to, you are welcome to like the video, or subscribe. Okay, thanks. Bye bye. Bye.